do as a designer is I'm going to take that Pinterest board or what your inspiration is and turn it into reality. And what reality is 1,000, 2,000 decisions that you have to make even before you get to the right piece, the right design piece, and then having that game plan to execute, then having the right tradespeople, the right contractor, the right electrician, the right people to actually make it happen on time for you and to make your vision a reality.
Hello, everyone. Rick Albert here with another episode of the Key to City of Angels. I'm super excited to have Andrea Freeman of Authentik Home here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so you're my first guest to talk about some of the design and what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm super excited.
That's exciting. Yay.
So why don't you first go into what you do and how you got into it?
Oh, gosh. Okay. How long do we have? We have an hour, so I'll try to condense it. So what I do is I'm an interior designer. I specialize in residential. I do some commercial design as some community design. I've been an interior designer now, I think 24 years, last time I counted. Yes. So after 20, it's gravy.
Over 20 at that point.
Over 20. It's just over 20. Yeah. So the way I got into design is a little bit different than most people because at the time when I was in college, I was actually going to college to be a teacher. I have a lot of teachers in my family and all of that. So I was going to be a teacher and I was really passionate about it, but I got a summer job at a design center and it turned my life around. So after that,
Amazing.
I just fell in love with it. I went back to school for design and I've been doing it ever since.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about, because designing is hard. Let's call it what it is. People think it's easy. And they're like, I can design.
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
Are you foolish?
God.
I just copy Pinterest.
Uh-huh.
But it's not like that, right? That's not really what it's like.
No.
What are people missing?
Oh my gosh.
I know what I'm missing, but what are people missing?
Okay. So it's funny that we're having this conversation today because I have to be honest with you. I actually was working with a potential client who didn't understand what we do. And I came off hot off the tails of explaining this. It's really fresh in my mind about what we do and why everybody can't do it. So what people don't understand about interior design, is that really the question we want to get at?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are people missing versus just going on Pinterest and trying to copy?
Logistics. I think when it really comes down to it, it's logistics. So most of my clients are busy professionals, and it's not that they don't have style. It's not that they don't look at their Pinterest board and can put a cohesive design. It's about bringing it all together and the logistics of bringing it together and the knowledge and the expertise behind it. So for instance, if you've ever tried to do a remodel on your own.
Multiple.
Okay. So you get into it. You're super excited, right? Let me tell you about the phases of DIY. But most people are very excited. They're like, oh, I'm going to do this bathroom remodel. I've got this Pinterest board. I know what light fixture I'm going to do. I know I know what paint. Except you get into it and then everything is a domino, right? So let's say you pick this great light fixture. Okay, there's a back order. Now what do I do? What light fixture do I pick? That's just like one. And then there's going to be 1,000 more things. So for instance, like you're going to go, oh, I love this medicine cabinet for this bathroom remodel. Oh, it's electric. I have old electric. That's not going to work. This is not going to work. Oh, we picked this tile. Oh, that tile actually isn't meant to go on a wall. It's meant to go on a floor. So there's all of these decisions that you have to make the end result what it is. And so when you get into the decision making, knowing we have so much access now. I've been doing this a long time. I just said that. But when I first started, and I'm just going to date myself, when I first started, we didn't have Pinterest. We didn't have digital. Internet websites were like very different. And so people didn't see all of the multiple thousands, millions of choices out there to get that Pinterest board. So what I do as a designer is I'm going to take that Pinterest board or what your inspiration is and turn it into reality. And what reality is 1,000, 2,000 decisions that you have to make even before you get to the right piece, the right design piece, and then having that game plan to execute, then having the right tradespeople, the right contractor, the right electrician, the right people to actually make it happen on time for you and to make your vision a reality. So I hope that answered your question. It's a
It
little all over the
does.
place.
Okay, so like the best example I tell
Yeah.
myself and my clients is
Yeah.
you have this idea for the shower.
Yep.
You need to know what fixtures you're doing now. And people are like, why? I'm
Yes.
like, because when they demo the shower, they need to know where to put the plumbing. So they need to know, like, they don't realize how many decisions have to be made early on. Changing out a light
Yep.
fixture, that's easy. The
Sure.
fixture's already there.
Yeah.
But like some of the stuff that happens behind the walls. I remember I've done remodels where we didn't have to do certain things, but it's like the wall's already open. So you might as well do it.
You might
right?
as well
do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing it right actually saves you money in the long run. For
Right?
sure. So there's this thing that I always talk to my clients about called economy of scale, right? So what that means is if I'm doing a remodel in your bathroom, for example, right? And we're doing a lot of different things. I have contractors there. I have painters there. I have electrician there. That is the time to do other things that might be on your wish list, because if you have to hire that whole crew to come back and do something later, it's going to cost you more money. And also making the decisions in the beginning, knowing the whole plan is going to oh my gosh, it's going to save you so much money. So I always tell people, like, I'm worth it, because honestly, the decision-making part of this is very difficult, but we're also, if we're doing it as a cohesive design, in the long run, you're not going to make decisions later that are going to affect different things that are mistakes that you're going to have to pay for.
Yeah, and a common complaint I get is people get mad when the handyman comes in, does 1 hour of work, and charges like $200 or $300.
Yeah.
And they get so mad about it. I'm like, why? I'm like, because he can't start another job. He can't go to the next job. So he has to charge a day rate, whether it's a couple hours, half a day. So like for a lot of my like handyman stuff, I wait until I have a long punch list.
Exactly.
And then I have them come through. Like that, you have to.
But also, this is like something that I want to dovetail with that handyman is,
go for it.
Why are you hiring that handyman? Let me just ask you that. Why are you hiring that handyman?
So in my case, he happens to be fairly skilled.
Right.
Yeah, much more skilled than your traditional handyman. But I'm also not necessarily having him do certain specialty items, to be fair.
So I guess what I'm getting at is you're hiring the handyman for his skill set. He has a skill set that you don't have. He knows knowledge of how to do his job, what he's going to do for you. You know that he's going to get the job done and it's going to be a great job. So when people go, oh my gosh, $200 an hour for this handyman, how many years of experience does he have that makes it so that he's super efficient at doing that job in maybe 20, 30 minutes that a homeowner would have to read a book, go on YouTube, say they would have to do all this research, make the mistakes that they're going to have to pay.
Handyman comes back.
Yes, drill into a wall that wasn't supposed to be drilled into, go to Home Depot, buy like $100 worth of supplies and come back and then do the project. So the $200 an hour project now costs you, let's say, like $1,500 plus the time. Your time is money. So
I kid you not. So like I can do some stuff. I'm like sort of handy. I've gotten much better over the years. I had to slow down. But for example, we had to install a shower rod. And I'm like, could I do this? Yes. Have I ever personally drilled into tile? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I'm like, I could probably do it, but am I really going to risk screwing this thing up, going into tile? I've never done that. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Nope. Add it to the punch list. Let him do it. And then to your point, here I am having a conversation with you, which is way better use of my time than it is to be doing all this other little stuff.
And actually, that just completely comes full circle to what we're talking about. The reason people hire me is for the same reason people hire a handyman.
Yeah. And they're saying, because you're not just a designer, you're also a project manager, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
which is frustrating for people because they say, I'm hiring the contractor to manage the project. I'm like, yeah, but every contractor is different, and you really need someone to manage the contractor.
Yeah, but we also want to talk. This is a moment to talk about full service and what that is.
Go
So,
for it.
yes, your contractor is going to be doing construction work and different things, making their milestones. But a designer is looking at the whole picture. And we're not just looking at the things that the contractor can provide you. We're looking for, this is perfect, the lamps that go on that table, the floral arrangement,
Right.
the mirror, all of these things is part of project management, part of giving you that big, like you walk in the house, you have the big HGTV reveal. If I went into how much work goes behind the scenes to do something like that, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I've done now for myself 3 remodels. Totally
Ooh.
get it.
Yeah, so you have some experience under your belt.
Including like additions, converting garages to ADU. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a lot.
It's a full-time job. So you mentioned some of the decisions, even down to the shopping for materials.
Right.
How do you navigate what goes on in the world? Because there's tariffs. Sometimes things aren't back. It's the holiday season. I'm getting materials literally shipped to my house today that was supposed to arrive last week.
Yeah.
Like, how are you navigating all of that?
Okay, so that's a great question because it's really relevant right now in the industry, because not only materials, but if you think about furnishings, imports, those sort of things, everything's adding up for everybody. So this actually is interesting because I'm going to take us back a couple years. So when we were doing design during the pandemic, we had a lot of the same struggles. They're different reasons, but we had a lot of the same struggles. Shipping delays, high cost on shipping, things not coming in. So I rerouted my process around a little bit of this because we still have to finish the project for these clients. So what I did is I started building my sources locally and nationally. And I started going back to having a lot of handmade and locally sourced product. So, for instance, it's harder and sometimes costlier on the front end to purchase things that are made here, but I know that you're going to get it in time. I know that the quality is there. I know that you're not going to have an additional cost that you weren't aware of because of a tariff or because of, my latest one is fuel surcharge. So when I get like these bills of lading and they've got a fuel surcharge and I'm like, fuel surcharge, what? So if I can go to a local maker, like for instance, there's a company that makes tile in California. If I can go for the tile, I will go there to ensure a little bit more of a streamlined. I work with a lot of furniture makers. I do a ton of custom furniture, a ton of custom upholstery, a ton of custom woodwork because I know the quality of the work, but I also know the value and that I can get it and I can control the process a little bit more from the back end.
That makes sense, because one of the challenges I've even had personally was like we bought a home and it was in the process of being remodeled. That's great. But then I still had to sell my last house. And that timing did not really work well.
Sure.
So I got my house sold quickly, but that means I had to move into my unfinished home. Try having a toddler and being married. That was been great. So then it's like we have to start hounding people to get stuff done. And you're right. Like, are you spending more money? Yes. But then if it happens sooner, then you're avoiding really, because again, I am also an investor and all that. It's like, I think carrying costs. I think it's like, all right, this is costing me money to not live there.
Yeah.
It's costing my sellers money not to get this on the market sooner.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that designers bring to the table is we have an arsenal of sourcing. So we source from a lot of different vendors. We have relationships with those vendors over years. I mean, Just for instance, the team I work with on upholstery, I've been working with them for 14 years. I have the president's personal cell phone number, and I can call them and say, I need this now. But the reason I say that is because we have relationships with a lot of different sources and a lot of people, but I am ongoing educating myself every single day about new vendors, every single day about lead times. I'm thinking about shipping costs way more than the average person right now.
Yeah. How do you keep track of all that? Like, because I was thinking about that in terms of, okay, if I'm flipping a home or building a home, it's like, how do you track all of that? Because that was one of the biggest issues contractors had, was they're giving bids, and then all of a sudden, by the time you start, you're like, here's a change order because materials are up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
how do you navigate that?
It's on an individual basis. There are things that come up, of course, but the way that I think we handle it internally is we can pivot and find. So for instance, right, you've got a back order. Let's say you've planned a tile and you're in love with that tile, and we get this back order, and it's going to throw the whole project off, right? So you're going to be spending a lot of money. I can then go to a source where I know that I can get something, and that I can get somewhat of the equivalent of it, and I always say, what people don't understand about design is like 90% of my job is client services, and like 10% of my job is the actual design work. Not to say I love the design work, but a lot of it is figuring this kind of stuff out in the moment so that my clients don't have to, or we navigate it together, we collaborate for a solution.
Yeah. And then how do you keep track of the lead times? Is it just you call your vendors? But do you just call your vendors even if you don't have a client in mind? You're like, hey, I'm just trying to keep track of how much things cost right now.
Yeah, we keep our finger on the pulse of lead times for a lot of companies, but a lot of designers, myself included, will have accounts with these companies. So if there is a change in status on lead time, we do know. If I have a specific product that I've already spec'd out for a client for a project, even if they haven't pushed the start button on it, we keep tabs and we see if that's flowing. And if it's not, or we need to raise our hand and say, hey, by the way, that lead time went from 8 weeks to 8 months. What do you want to do about it?
Whenever there's a big change in the lead time and you have that conversation with the client, obviously they're not mad at you. They're probably just mad at the situation.
Yeah.
Because like you don't have control. What do most people do? Do they end up pivoting? Or do they say, no, I really want this tile, or I really want this materials. I'm going to wait. It's worth the wait.
It completely is predicated on the client, I would say, because I've had clients, like, for instance, they fall in love with a natural stone, which is very unique, and they want that natural stone, and it's very important to them. Then we can kind of stop. And then there's also other ways to pivot around that. So if we know we're going to get it in a certain lead time, then maybe we focus on other parts of the project that we can complete before that piece is here. A lot of times my clients are willing to wait for what they want. And that goes for everything too, because sometimes we have, like, even fabrics. People don't think about this, but most fabrics, oh my gosh, you can wait 6 months for a fabric that you really want to be handmade. So it just depends on the client, it depends on the project, it depends on the type of project also. If it's a full remodel and not having that one piece is going to stop the entire project, that's money. If it's a fabric and not having the drapery there for 6 months, is it going to be the worst thing in the world? No.
Fair enough. So if one thing delays something else,
you have to look at the whole picture.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I know when I've done like punch lists, sometimes I'll do it by like room, knowing that, okay, this has to, like, first of all, if you're already there, you might as well do X, Y, and Z. But then also like the windows is always a big deal. You can't order window curtains until the windows are in because you need to know this or that. You know, I totally get it. So so going to like when people are like, hey, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. How do you understand, we'll call it their vibe?
Okay.
Like because one of the mistakes I shouldn't say it's a mistake. I'll say it's a mistake. One of the problems I tend to see is people have a certain style in mind, but the house doesn't also fit that style.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. Yeah.
About it.
I'll see like a ranch style home and then go inside and it's like ultra modern. And I'm like, the home's beautiful, but it's like, it doesn't flow. Like, how do you navigate what people want in their home versus the actual, like with what you're working with?
Very carefully. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like eggshells.
No.
Eggshells.
So I'm going to say something that I know if you ask this question to 10 designers, you would get 10 different answers. For sure. There's not one way to answer this definitively, but I will tell you how I put it to the client. So let's just use that example, right? You have a ranch style house. It's beautiful, Southern California, and they have like a New York ultra modern style in mind. We're going to get to, so I do things a little differently. I am very client focused, and part of my brand, part of who I am, part of why I started what I did was to connect the clients to their home is very important to me, and to get to know who they are so that I can reflect that and take it. So I'm always, my success, if something's a success, is do you feel at home in this? Do you see yourself in this? How has this benefited your life? So that being said, it benefits them to have the style of the home also reflected and paid attention to and considered at the very beginning. I was coming in and let's say we were consulting and we're at the very beginning stages and they show me all of their inspiration and it's ultra modern and it's New York and all of that. I'm going to get down to why they want that. What is it about that is so appealing to them, and why do they feel drawn to it? And so it might be, for instance, it might be, oh, we really just a little bit more minimal. We like clean lines. It's not exactly this that we like. These are the underlying things that we like. So now we have a blueprint. Okay, great. And then we take their lifestyle into consideration. So you mentioned a wife and a toddler a little bit back ago, right? Yep. So lifestyle is probably the number one thing that I'm looking for, is where are they with their life? Are they empty nesters and their goal is to just have this really comfy, relaxing place and they're retired? Are they new parents? Are they working parents? What is the need behind the design? So I'm going to take a lot of those things into consideration to get them to the right place that they want to be in. And sometimes they don't know. That's why they're hiring me, is because if they didn't have me, they would take that ultra modern like picture and be like, yes, we're going to make this like Soho apartment into this ranch style Southern California home because this is what we like. And so that's something that it takes time to do that. It takes time to get the client, for them to get to know me, for me to really assess their needs and assess who they are and what they actually want. Because I'll tell you, a lot of people, they have this list of, this is what we want. Okay, why? And we get really into it. Sometimes I feel like a therapist, I have to say. I'm sure you do too. So I have a lot of friends in your industry, a lot. Yeah. And it's one of those things. Sometimes we feel like a therapist. You're asking the same questions. What do you want this home to be like? What do you want the lifestyle to be like? It's the same challenge. But at the end of the day, for me, it is very important that the design is cohesive, but that it also reflects the homeowner and their lifestyle and who they are.
Yeah, that's always been the big thing. It's like when you're remodeling or doing any sort of design, it's like you have to do it for you, right? Because I talk to people and they ask about resale, and I'm like, resale's different.
Yeah.
I remember I had a listing appointment, and she was going the house was basically a tear down, but she wanted to remodel it. I'm like, okay, tell me what you plan on doing. This was years ago. She had the white kind of like marble for the countertop and the gray floors. I'm like, there was two things. One, what you're already describing was like a few years ago. Trends have changed. Yeah. And then I was like, what about the windows? And she's like, what about the windows? I'm like, the windows are old. Like, you're remodeling this part, but now you're highlighting other issues that kind of go along the line. So sometimes I tell people, just don't remodel it. Just leave the house the way it is. So with some of your clients, how do you I know you talk about their lifestyle,
Sure.
but has it ever been where they're like, hey, they go in with the mindset, I have to gut it, but really they don't have to in some cases, right? Like maybe it's, yeah, change the kitchen countertops, but you don't have to change the floors.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you see, or like, what goes on in your mind when you're walking through some of these homes and you're like, don't do this? Like, how do you determine that?
Yeah, I'm extremely transparent. I can't help
Right.
but not be. And
No, that's fair. That's why they're hiring you.
No, because so for instance, this is happening a lot because you just mentioned the white kitchen and the white marble and the gray floor. I'm in a part of Orange County that has a lot of historic houses, beautiful historic houses. And when a client wants to rip out perfectly great millwork and put in something different, that is something that I really talk to them about, because what they actually want is their stamp on it. They want something new. They want something fresh. They want a makeover. But there's a difference between a remodel and what I call a refresh. So a refresh is, okay, maybe we keep that great millwork. Maybe we have a custom stainer come in and stain it a little differently because the color is really a problem, not the wood, not the style, it's the color. And then maybe we want to do a new countertop. Maybe they have really bad chipped countertops in here and it just was the old homeowner was fine with it, but they're not fine with it. So then that's a refresh. I think that's something I personally assess with the homeowner and my client and see, okay, what are you after? What do you really want? Do you want a new look or do you want this specific look? So that's going to determine how the direction goes. But I'm sure that story, like when you were saying that, what about the windows? What about this? What about that? I feel like a lot of people don't think big picture. They're really focused on, I don't like these cabinets. Okay, they're perfectly beautiful historic cabinets. Do you not like that they're like that oak that you feel is like a little bit older? Do you want them to be a little bit lighter? That we can do.
Yeah. And it's like I have had homes listed. Like I have a listing right now where the home was built in the 20s. And so it has someone like it's this tiny little casita and it's like I talked to the seller and I know it's the original tile for the kitchen. I'm like, look, some people are going to totally fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Some people may rip it out. That's their business. Let them. But there is a demographic of people who love that style. And then to your point, you just make little tweaks so it works for them.
So it works for them. Yeah. And I think we used to be really concerned about resale. I will say this, you know, like it seemed to be like, oh, don't rip that tub out because of resale. Don't do this because of resale. And I think we've changed. I think a lot of people have changed to view their home differently as less of a commodity. How much can I sell this for? And more of their space. And I know for the younger demographic, for sure, and you will see this everywhere, is they actually like the historic charm. They like the interesting tile. And they might buy that casita because of that tile. So I think we're going in a little bit different direction than we have been.
I agree. And I think a lot of it has to do with people are now looking at their homes that they're staying in longer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. Average used to be like 5 to 7 years. Now I'm hearing like 13 years. So it's like, yeah, if I'm going to be staying in a home like the home we just recently bought and we remodeled it, it's like we intend on staying here for a while. So I'm going to do what I want.
No, absolutely. And then another thing is aging in place. I've gone to a couple seminars about this. People are staying in their homes longer, but people are not necessarily doing what they did before, whereas they would live into their home and then they would downsize and go to a condo and downsize. So it used to be like that was the cycle, right? You become an empty nester and then you go, this house is too much for us. We're going to downsize to a condo and we're going to live a smaller life. A lot of people are investing into their houses, into their lifestyle, changing those spaces to work with them longer. And so aging in place is a very real thing, and making adjustments to make sure it's going to be comfortable as our bodies get older and we use our homes different.
Yeah, I've always liked the homes where there was like a primary suite like upstairs, but then there was a secondary primary suite downstairs type of situation. So it's like, to your point, you spend your time upstairs, you get to a certain age, you want to do the stairs anymore, you still have a bedroom primary downstairs, and the upstairs can be used for guests. It can be used as a playroom for the grandkids or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I've had clients look at some of that stuff. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to convert the garage. And it's not even for rental income. It's
No,
because my parents are aging. They need to come here. It works in a
exactly.
multitude of
A lot
ways.
of in-law houses and ADUs being
Yep.
built.
Yeah, it's 'cause I sold a lot of ADU properties. I actually have one on the
Hmm.
market.
Hmm.
Most of the time, and like the one I just sold was actually mine, but I had
Hmm.
a tenant in the ADU.
Okay.
And I've sold a lot of ADU properties where tenants are in the ADU, and I missed out on a lot of buyers. A lot of them wanted vacant because they want it for their family, they want it for the in-laws.
Got it.
It's not actually being used for the rental income.
It's being used for personal. Yeah.
Is what we're seeing a
Sure.
lot of these ADUs being wanted and all that for. So going, because some people would use it for rentals, really design is really a big deal in the short-term rental space
Yeah.
because it's a lifestyle. So how
Hmm.
do you approach, and I know in Orange County, the laws are a little bit more relaxed in certain markets than it is up here. Yeah, in terms of LA has really strict Airbnb
No,
laws.
yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah. But when you're designing for Airbnb or term
Hmm.
rentals, what are you
Hmm.
looking at?
To create an experience. It's really
Okay.
about creating an experience. So we're in Orange County, we have a couple of different areas that are really taking off as far as the vacation rentals and short-term rentals go because we have Disneyland and we have
Right.
Laguna and we have these areas that are very highly specific. So when somebody is looking on the listings to take a
Hmm.
look at like where they want to stay, they don't necessarily want to just stay in the best price. They want to stay in something that has an experience, right? They want to stay in something fun, something interesting, something with amenities that they don't have at home. So it's really
Right.
about creating a unique experience to the location that is nearby. Why most people would choose to rent that out.
What would some of those experiences be that you're
Yeah.
seeing Morgan?
Yeah. So let's say, I'm sure you've heard this term before, the snowbirds, right? Snowbirds
Hmm.
are older usually couples that come from places like Minnesota and different places that are really cold.
Yeah.
As we sit here, it's 78 degrees.
Oh,
It's
my, my,
78
my,
degrees.
I have family who live in the snow. And I
Snow.
remember years ago, one of them, I was like, I'm calling them. I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, good. I'm just shoveling the snow. What about you? I'm like, I think I'm
Hmm.
going to go to the beach.
Yeah. So,
But
yeah, it's like
it was a
crazy,
dick
right?
thing to say. I didn't really want to go to the
Yeah.
beach, but I'm like, I'd rather do that than shovel snow. I
Right.
get it.
So let's say these snowbirds are coming to California, right? They're going to have a
Mhm.
California winter vacation in the 78-degree weather. What are they going to want to stay in? They're going to want to stay in a really coastal, cool, contemporary space. Are they going to want to
Mhm.
stay in the Holiday Inn? Or are they going to want to stay in something that looks like a cabin? You wouldn't
Right.
want to, like, back to the ranch house contemporary design. Like, you wouldn't want to have an Airbnb in Laguna that looks like a rustic cabin where they're coming from. You want something cool, you want something coastal, indicative of the area that has amenities that go with the area. That's what they're after. They're after the experience because they're
Sure.
coming from a cold place. They want to go to a warm place. They also want to feel the I think the overall vibe of the space too, right? So if they're coming
Mhm.
to, let's say, Laguna, having a vacation rental that has really great, like, local artists doing the artwork and different
Interesting.
things like that, a palette that is indicative of the colors that they're going to see around them, and especially just elevated, that they feel like they're getting something totally different than what they actually live in.
That would be really interesting to have local artists
Yeah.
with their artwork, and then you even have a little like note.
Yeah.
Hey, this was written by, this was painted by so and so. He's
Right.
local because you
Yeah.
are competing with hotels. I remember when I was taking classes over at UCLA, I had to do like a report on Airbnb, and I was like,
Mhm.
why would people go there versus hotels? And one was
Mhm.
the experience. Two was also really the bedroom count. That was actually the
Yeah.
big one.
Oh yeah,
It
for
was like
sure. Sure, sure.
people with kids, it's like it's
Yeah.
cheaper to actually get the Airbnb with 3 or 4 bedrooms than it is to get three or
Hmm.
four hotel rooms. But I don't know if I've ever been inside of a hotel room that had local artists.
Or
I
small
don't know if I have.
touches or things that have in these spaces that you wouldn't have in a normal. And I think the clientele is different. There's definitely a clientele that wants to go to the Four Seasons. They know what to expect.
Sure.
They don't have to read the little
whole nother
manual.
world.
They don't care. But then there's, like, for example, my best friend, she lives in Washington State, and she always travels to see her family in Colorado every single year. She has kids and a dog, a big dog, and she likes to drive. So they get a big, giant rustic cabin every year. And that way they can also host the family they're coming to see for events on the property. So, like, for example, it's like a little mini reunion. They get to stay there, but then they also get to say, come over, we're going to host a barbecue.
We did that the day before our wedding. Instead of doing, so we rented Airbnb that had some land, because our thought was most people do rehearsal dinners, but because we knew the majority of people were traveling, we're like, that's not really fair to exclude other people.
Sure.
So we just did, you know what, let's do a welcome dinner the day before the wedding, and just invited everybody. It was like $1,500 for a taco stand. People had a blast.
Yes.
And then luckily it wasn't necessarily for us. It wasn't an issue for us, but like even conceptually, like if there's any family drama, let it happen there. And then the day of the wedding, it's like, we weren't anticipating anything, to be fair, but we're just like, in general, like, it's such a great idea. Yeah, just in case. Let it happen at the welcome dinner rather than the wedding day.
Right, totally.
But yeah, so going back, so when we talk about, even for people who are like, hey, I am thinking about selling, and we want to design it. I noticed when we sold our last home, one of the big things was the home was very intentional. There was a lot, even like the littlest details of an attic ladder. People are like, oh, wow. But what kind of details have you noticed that has resonated? Because like oftentimes as an agent, I have to tell a story.
Of course, yeah.
Right? In the residential world, it's all about the story. So what are some design elements you've noticed that has worked really well?
Oh, that's a big question.
I know. It's a tough one. And I get it. Every property is different. And
No, it's a good question.
I'm full of them.
No, you are actually. This is really making me think. So would this be for somebody, for you, if you were selling a house, what you would be looking for the details that were intentional? Or
yeah, if I had a seller that said, hey, what changes, or what are some little nuance like changes?
Yes.
That I could do, because I don't feel like spending tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes. Okay, good. Perfect. Yes.
Perfect. We're good. Okay. Bring it back. We're good.
Okay, I'm good. You ready? No,
let's do it.
Number one, lighting. Lighting is a huge game changer, and it's something that a lot of people overlook. And lighting has come so far. In fact, we're getting new technologies like every day with lighting. But for example, if somebody's been in their home for even a good decade, their lighting fixtures are probably a little bit dated. And lighting fixtures are not a huge cost. And you can change them out pretty quickly and efficiently.
Pre-wires.
With your handyman. Yeah, pre-wires.
Yeah.
So lighting would be number one. And especially because now the output of lighting is so different. Even recessed lights, right? So if we have the old incandescent recessed lights, you can now just put a little puck in there and have a nice diffused LED light. It makes everything look brighter and bigger and shinier. Lighting fixtures, number one. Huge lighting fixtures would be my first thing. And then I also really want to look, and these are small details, but like prospective buyers are going to be looking at these small details, and they're overlooked sometimes. Hardware on your doorknobs, hardware on your cabinet doors, drawer pulls on any built-in cabinets, huge. Like that's just a small little thing. This is a little screwdriver and you got that, and then you can take care of it. So those are like two really important small things that I think people miss a lot. And then flooring. Flooring is a huge one, but I wouldn't say, obviously, if you're looking at a 2,500 square foot house and it's got all natural hardwood, you're not going to want to take that and rip it out, even if it's not in great condition. So reconditioning the hardwood, making sure that it's the best it can be. And if there is carpet, it's the most cost effective to just rip out and put something. It used to be, and I'm sure you can attest to this, it used to be like, oh, whoever buys the house is going to replace the carpet, or there's a carpet allowance, right? Dirty, yucky carpet is like the biggest turn off. Like you can have the most beautiful house, but if I walk into a bedroom and it's got like carpet where like the indentations of the furniture are on it, and like you can see exactly, No. So carpet, like flooring, just really assess your flooring. Make it the best it can be. So if it's natural hardwood, go get it refinished, go get it restained and sanded. If it's tile, make sure you have somebody come and clean that grout or reseal the grout, or even just go over with a new color grout. They make so many cool products now. So you can actually regrout, recolor the grout, and it can be look brand new, because those are the things that, are really noticeable with flooring and surfaces.
So with the carpet example, that's a great example because I've been in that situation before. And so what I've had to explain to my sellers, look, there's a difference between wanting to replace and having to replace. So replace the carpet. If they don't like carpet, they can always replace it.
Yeah.
But at least they don't have to. Whereas right now they're walking through and
they're like, they're thinking of all of the dollar signs. So they're looking around. So like, for example, they're looking at that light fixture, that really old ceiling fan with the light kit in it. And they're going, oh, that's this much, and that's this much to do. And the carpets are this much to do. So if you take that decision away, or even, they can replace it. They might not like that color carpet, but they're not thinking about that you want them to think about the story. Like you were talking about, you're creating the story. You want them to fall in love with the space. So take some of that, the hard line, like icks out of it.
Yeah. It's an unwritten rule.
Obviously.
Yeah, just to pay. But no, you're right. It was funny. I had a listing once and I told her replace the floors, and I even sent her what flooring to do. Lighter flooring, that's what people want. Of course she went dark because it was what she wanted, and I'm like, but you're not buying the house. But okay. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, we should repaint. She repainted everything except like her room because she liked the yellow in her room. I'm like, again, you're not the one buying it, but okay. Luckily, still got the home sold, still got a great price, but people did come through. And one of the things I've noticed in remodels goes back to like, where do you start? Where do you stop? So people are like, you painted the whole place, but this room.
But that,
like, people noted. And the flooring was more like neutral. Luckily, no one really pushed back. But still, it's not for you. It's for somebody else.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like you're reverse designing, because I'm like looking at you're undoing. No, this is good because you're looking at this and you want somebody else to fall in love with it. The homeowner's looking at it like, this is my baby, this is my house, but
I've been here for 30 years.
It's now a product. So
that's a good way to put it. It went from a home to a product. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So now it's a product, and now you have to, oh my gosh, I don't envy you, because you have to reverse and take them out of it, make it impersonal, and they're very personally. And that's actually something that I did a lot of. I used to do a lot of staging. I still do some of it, but that is one of the things I tell real estate professionals is, guess what? You're a real estate professional and you're really good at your job. And I'm a designer and I'm really good at my job. And a lot of times when they come, the real estate professional will hire me to come and do a consult with them. I have a lot of experience working with people who feel very personal about their homes and trying to get the best outcome for them. Right. So a lot of times I'm like, let me have that conversation with them. Let me talk to them about that situation, because you're talking to them about that situation, but I'm going to hold their hand and go, okay, I understand that you really love this yellow. And you know what? You can have this in your new home, but let's talk about who might live here. Like, I can get into the feelings of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes, I've noticed it more when people have lived in their homes for a very long time.
Yeah.
That's usually where it's okay. So typically what I've done in the past is I'll pull up other sales that are close to the price they want. So it's, look, this isn't me. This isn't my opinion, because just because someone gets a real estate license does not automatically make them a designer.
Yep.
So, right? Like, that's not one of the courses. So it's just, look, these are the homes that sold in the price point you want. Here's what they look like.
Yeah, that's good.
Like that little casita that I'm telling you about, it's not staged. We talked about staging. And I said, look, here's all these homes that sold. None of them were staged. They were all empty. So you're fine. And sure enough, Yeah. And sure enough, I'm expecting one offer, hopefully more, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you have to have those conversations, but it's much easier to, like you said, either you take the hit or, for lack of a better term,
No, that's
uh,
fine.
you just say, look, hey, here's what these other sales had that yours
Yeah.
has or doesn't have.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
And in the luxury world, we're talking 3 million and up. It's all emotional.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually much more emotional at that price point than it is at the lower price point
Mm.
when it comes to style and all that, just because the air's a little bit thinner, people have higher expectations. But
Yep.
then I've had a lot of those clients. They're fantastic. I love them all. I've met
Mm-hmm.
others that aren't my clients and they think highly of themselves. So
Yeah.
I don't know how else to word it. There are some that are fantastic, and that's at every price point, to be fair.
No.
But
That's yeah, people. It's just people
right,
business.
they're just people. They're
Yeah.
just people. So it's kind of like it actually makes it harder sometimes to design those because you want to do something custom because of the price point, but then you
Mm.
also want to make sure that it appeals to as many people as possible. I don't
Right.
know what your experience has been. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts as we wrap this up. But is the luxury world actually harder to design?
Ooh, interesting.
Right?
It's different. I don't know about harder. It's very
That's because they're
different.
listening. Imagine they're not listening to the podcast.
Okay. All right, let's go off the cuff. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Their expectation level is a lot higher. Their
Yeah, I
expectation
can
level is a
imagine.
lot higher. And so that can make it a lot more difficult for whoever is working with them on their home, because every single little detail is going to be under a microscope, especially quality, and
Yeah.
also the entitlement of, oh, I should get this at this price because I'm doing my whole kitchen. Mrs. Jones down the road is doing her whole kitchen, but she has a $700,000 home and she has no complaints about that because she understands the value of it. So I think
Right.
there's an entitlement situation sometimes with those, because they're like, my home is worth so much, so I have to have it a certain way and at the lowest price point possible. So,
I know a contractor, and depending on where he works, he charges accordingly. And so I was
yeah,
talking to him
I
about
know designers who do the same. Yeah.
but what was interesting was when goes to Malibu or some of these higher end areas,
Mm-hmm.
he's charging more because they always make little changes.
Change
Like,
orders.
oh, I want the light like half an inch to the left or something. But
Mm-hmm.
then that demographic doesn't like change orders.
Mm.
So he actually, basically what he's doing is he's factoring in change orders
He's
without actually
factoring
having to
in.
build.
Yeah, he's factoring in. That's probably going to be the case.
But no, I've had conversations because one of my first jobs was actually working with the developer. So when I meet prospective sellers and buyers, they're like, I want all of your contacts and I want it at your price.
Yeah.
And I said, that's because they do hundreds of homes and they make decisions quickly. Like, you're one client, and that's why they charge less for the flipper, because they're doing way more business with the flipper and they're making decisions quickly. I know contractors who only work with developers.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want the long-waited decisions.
Change orders. Yeah.
Yeah, I've told all my vendors whenever I've worked with them personally, I'm like, look, I will get you a decision within 24 hours.
That's great.
That's always been and only once did I break that rule, and it cost me dearly, where I was trying to figure out what like giant French doors to use, like 8 foot high.
Okay. Yeah.
And just because I was trying to figure out what vendor and all that, and because it took me so long, they ended up on back order. It took 10 weeks to arrive. Versus had I just made a decision, oh, you'll appreciate this. The city wouldn't let me touch the property until those doors were installed. My job site was shut down for 10 weeks.
Yep, and it really did. Oh my gosh, and people do not factor that in. I'm working on a project right now that's over 2 years in the making, and it was permitting and city issues that nobody can do anything about. It's terrible and it's heartbreaking, but it's also just the situation that it is. There's nothing you can do about it, and I'm sure you've run into this too. There's different cities, and you're in LA County, right? So yeah, so there's different, you can go block and it's a different city and it's a different permit office and it's a different situation. So I will say, just a hot tip for any homeowners, or also you yourself, when you're working with a contractor, make sure that they also have had experience getting permits in your city. Because if you're
that's so
hiring
true.
a contractor from a different city who's not ever worked in your city and they don't know people or know how to be vigilant and get that permit done, it can really cost you time.
Just as simple as I think it's Santa Monica. I think they actually require you to get a business license in Santa Monica.
Wow.
So if you use certain vendors, I don't remember if it was, I know there was some other cities. I was just talking to a glass guy about that. Just to install glass, he had to get a business license.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all this.
Oh, no,
this has
you.
been like
this
amazing.
has been really fun.
Okay, good.
I have so much to tell you about, but
well, maybe in a few months we'll do another one and we'll kind of see how trains change and all that. How can people get a hold of you?
Oh, okay. My website, which I think you guys are going to link, AuthentikHome.com, Authentik with a K. I'm a little different. Instagram. I have my Instagram, which you can reach me through Instagram. So that's how you can get a hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there we go. Okay. Thank you again for coming on the show. Thank you for everyone watching and listening, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. Want to keep unlocking the secrets to building real wealth in Los Angeles? Stick around for the next episode. Tap the video on screen to keep watching.